The BBC, once regarded as the gold standard of impartial reporting, has been caught red-handed manipulating footage, and the evidence is undeniable. At the center of the storm is a Panorama broadcast that edited and rearranged clips from a Donald Trump speech, creating the illusion that the former US president was calling for violence at the Capitol. But forensic analysis shows the truth was very different. The two clips, one urging peaceful demonstration, the other discussing political strength, were spoken nearly an hour apart. When stitched together, they formed a false narrative designed to mislead millions of viewers. This wasn't an editing mistake. It was a calculated decision, a manipulation of reality. Experts say the intent was clear: to push a political message under the disguise of journalism. It wasn't about reporting facts, it was about controlling perception. The BBC, which has built its entire legacy on trust and public funding, is now facing the kind of scrutiny usually reserved for politicians, not journalists. Former insiders are describing this as the moment the mask slipped. They claim this kind of bias has been brewing for years, from relentless anti-Brexit coverage to selective reporting on Donald Trump and conservative politics. But this scandal, they argue, is something else entirely. It crosses the line from bias into fabrication, from slanted storytelling to outright deceit. Across the country, questions are mounting. If the BBC can splice, cut, and rearrange footage to rewrite the meaning of a world leader's words, how many other stories have been altered? How many other truths have been quietly reshaped for narrative effect? The broadcaster's reputation for accuracy, once its greatest strength, now hangs by a thread. The Telegraph broke the story, revealing that the BBC combined 3 separate clips into a single segment to create the illusion of a direct call to violence. A 19-page dossier compiled by a former member of the BBC Standards Committee exposes this manipulation in shocking detail. In response, Shadow Culture Secretary Nigel Huddleston called the revelations deeply concerning, demanding an immediate investigation and a public apology, saying the scandal undermines the brand and reputation of the BBC itself. Meanwhile, reaction is pouring in from both sides of the Atlantic. In Washington, commentators have noted that the BBC occupies one of the few permanent seats in the White House press room, a symbol of credibility now tainted by deception. In London, MPs are asking whether the license fee can still be justified when the institution funded by the British public appears to have deliberately misled them. What began as a media expose has now become a national reckoning, not just over one edited video, but over the very state of truth in modern Britain. In an era where a few clicks in an editing suite can rewrite reality, the line between journalism and propaganda has never been thinner. Because today, in the digital age, seeing is no longer believing, and when those we trust to tell the truth begin to reshape it, the story isn't just about media anymore. It's about democracy itself. Breaking tonight, one of Britain's most trusted institutions has been caught red-handed. The BBC has been accused of deliberately doctoring footage, and the proof is now undeniable. Viewers have discovered that a flagship Panorama broadcast manipulated the order of clips from a Donald Trump speech to make it appear as if he had directly incited violence at the US Capitol. In reality, the original remarks were separated by nearly an hour, one calling for peaceful demonstration, the other about political struggle. When stitched together, those two moments created a completely different narrative. What should have been journalism has become something far darker, propaganda dressed as truth. Experts now say this wasn't accidental. It was a deliberate editorial decision made by a team of producers who knew exactly what message they wanted to send. The aim: to feed a preset agenda. The result: to deceive the public. Critics are calling it the biggest scandal to hit British broadcasting in years. Former BBC insiders have come forward, claiming the corporation has long pushed negative coverage of conservatives, Brexit, and Donald Trump, while amplifying liberal and woke narratives. But this case, they say, crosses a line. It's not about bias anymore, it's about fabrication. Tonight, viewers across Britain are asking, If the BBC can splice and twist footage this easily, what else has been manipulated? What other truths have been edited away? The network's trust was built on accuracy and impartiality, values funded by the license fee paid by the public. Now that foundation is cracking. The Telegraph revealed the full story, exposing how 3 separate clips were merged into one to make Trump's words sound like a call to fight like hell. A 19-page dossier from a former BBC Standards Committee member outlines the manipulation in detail, sparking outrage in Parliament. Shadow Culture Secretary Nigel Huddleston says these revelations undermine the brand and reputation of the BBC, and has demanded an immediate investigation, apology, and accountability. Even American commentators are reacting, noting that the BBC holds one of the few seats in the White House press room, a privilege built on trust. But that trust has now been shattered. This isn't just about Donald Trump or a single program. It's about a fundamental question: can the public still believe what they see and hear from Britain's national broadcaster? Because in the digital age, seeing is no longer believing. With a few edits, truth becomes fiction, and journalism becomes a weapon.